Hey friends, welcome back to Great Adventure. I'm your host, Mark Guido, and this beautiful campsite behind me is part of Graves Island Provincial Park on the south shore of Nova Scotia, just west of Halifax. We're going to explore this beautiful area throughout this episode of Grand Adventure, so stay tuned. We're based this week in Chester, an area of Nova Scotia about 45 minutes west of the capital city of Halifax, known as South Shore. This is a jagged stretch of Atlantic Ocean coastline, dotted by numerous offshore islands, and deep bays and harbors that extend well inland between long peninsulas. When the British expanded into the area in the 1700s, Acadian settlements on the South Shore were few and tiny. After the expulsion of the Acadians, the British wanted to repopulate vacated lands and offered land grants to colonists from New England, which was experiencing a population explosion. New England planters were granted lands in the Chester area in 1761, then called Shoreham. Fun story. During the American Revolution, Nova Scotia was invaded regularly by American Revolutionary forces and privateers, including the 1782 raid on Chester. On June 30th, 1782, the day before a raid on neighboring Lunenburg, Captain Noah Stoddard of Fairhaven, Massachusetts, and 4 other privateer vessels attacked the British settlement at Chester, firing cannon from their vessels. Captain of the militia, Jonathan Prescott, fired these cannon from the blockhouse in Chester, now located on the grounds of the Chester Legion, striking one of the privateers. Their crews went ashore and requested of Prescott to bury their dead, and Prescott agreed if they disarmed themselves. Eventually, Prescott invited Stoddard and the other 2 captains to tea. Realizing the community was still vulnerable to attack, Prescott and his son lied to the privateers that Commander Creighton at Lunenburg had sent 100 soldiers who would arrive that evening. After the privateers returned to their vessels, Captain Jacob Millet led women and children marching in red colors, pretending to be British soldiers from Lunenburg. The privateers left Chester to raid Lunenburg the following day, believing that soldiers had left Lunenburg for Chester. Some of the New England immigrants proved to be neither neutral nor loyal in the conflict, including founders Timothy Houghton and John Secombe, against whom criminal charges were brought for sedition. Prescott was also suspected of being an American Patriot sympathizer, given that, after the initial hostile engagement, he allowed Captain Stoddard to bury his dead, and then had tea with him the day before Stoddard orchestrated the raid on Lunenburg. During the 1800s, Chester was an important site for coastal commerce, with economic activities including lumbering, shipbuilding, shipping, and fishing. Today, Chester is a popular tourist destination, with restaurants and boutiques, a yacht club, golf course, and recreation trails. We're staying this week in Chester at Graves Island Provincial Park, which occupies a small island just east of town. There are 2 campground loops here, one limited to dry camping and the other with water and electric sites. This is a very popular campground, and despite our attempt to obtain a water and electric site at the moment reservations opened for the 2024 camping season, we were unsuccessful and settled for a dry campsite that cost $26.70 Canadian per night, or $19.52 US dollars per night at today's exchange rate. We had expected an unobstructed view of the ocean from our campsite, based on this site photo on the park's website. However, truth in advertising, the trees have grown a bit since they took that photo. A few campsites still have limited water views, but the ocean is masked by the thick forest from most sites. A recreation trail follows the island's perimeter, where most views can be found. We've slept well here this week, despite the intense heat wave that has enveloped the East Coast throughout our stay, blazing even just a mile or 2 inland. Here on the island, a daily sea breeze has kept high temperatures in the 70s and low 80s, with overnight lows dipping into the low 60s and upper 50s, perfect for mid-July. Our sleep has also been enhanced by the comfort of our mattress from our video sponsor, Brooklyn Bedding. Improve your sleep while camping with a new RV mattress from our video sponsor, Brooklyn Bedding. They offer 4 different mattress constructions in 21 different sizes, depending on preference and price point. Everything from standard queen to all of those funky, odd RV sizes. Brooklyn Bedding manufactures all of its mattresses right at their factory in Arizona. And RVmattress.com ships them right to your door for free. all rolled up and compressed in a vacuum seal. Just cut the wrap to unroll the mattress onto your bed, then cut the vacuum seal. For our mattress, Brooklyn bedding starts with a layer of high-density foam for a supported base. Just above the base, an 8-inch core of over 1,000 individually encased coils provides the essential support. Immediately above the coils is a 1-inch layer of memory foam and 2-inch layer of hyper-elastic TitanFlex foam. Finally, at the very top is a 1.5-inch layer of antimicrobial Copperflex foam with TitanCool, which is designed to maintain an ideal sleep body temperature of 88 degrees. Every RV mattress from Brooklyn Bedding comes with a 10-year warranty and a 120-night sleep trial. Visit rvmattress.com/grandadventure to get 25% off your entire purchase with promo code GRANDADVENTURE. The next significant town west of Chester is Mahone Bay, a long-standing picturesque tourism destination that enjoys the fastest growing population of any municipality in Nova Scotia. British officials placed public notices in Germany, southern France, Switzerland, and the Netherlands, stating that those willing to move to their planned settlement in Nova Scotia would receive grants of land, food for a year, and a few farm animals. Between 1750 and 1752, more than 2,200 such foreign Protestants made the long journey from Europe to Halifax. Mills were established at the mouth of each of Mahone Bay's 2 rivers, and over the decades, blacksmiths, merchants, a large school, churches, and shipyards set up shop here. They established sawmills to produce lumber for shipbuilding. By 1850, at least 43 vessels had already been built by small shipyards in the Mahone Bay area, and larger shipyards were established to build mainly schooners and other smaller vessels, primarily for fishing and moving goods. As years passed, the trend was to build larger vessels for longer distance trading with the United States, West Indies, and elsewhere. During World War II, as many as 500 people were employed in the Mahone Bay shipyards, and after the war, the industry transitioned to mainly constructing pleasure boats. Commercial shipbuilding here wrapped up around 1975, with the last fiberglass sailing yachts were built by Pace Ship. Perhaps the best-known community on the South Shore, however, is Lunenburg. Historically, Lunenburg's economy relied on the offshore fishery, and today it hosts Canada's largest secondary fish processing plant. The town experienced prosperity in the late 1800s, and many of its architectural gems date back to that era. In 1995, UNESCO designated it a World Heritage Site as the best example of planned British colonial settlement in North America, because it retains its original layout and appearance of the 1800s, although Acadians first settled the area around the 1620s. The historic core of the town is also now a National Historic Site of Canada. In the early 1800s, port activities transitioned from coastal trade and local mixed fisheries to offshore fisheries. During Prohibition in the United States, between 1920 and 1933, Lunenburg was a base for rum running. The Smith & Rulin shipyard built many boats, including Bluenose II and the replica HMS Surprise, both berthed in Lunenburg Harbor. Bluenose II, now part of the Fisheries Museum of the Atlantic in Lunenburg, is featured on the Canadian Dime. The next major landmass east of our campground, the Aspotogan Peninsula, separates St. Margaret's Bay from Mahone Bay. The peninsula was originally settled in the 1780s by second-generation French immigrants on the east side and by second-generation German immigrants on the west side. Traditionally, fishing was a major industry for communities throughout the peninsula. However, other primary industries such as farming and forestry were historically important as well. Shipping and shipbuilding were secondary and tertiary industries that also came into prominence during the 19th and early 20th centuries. Today, the peninsula remains a remarkably beautiful place, even on this stormy day. On September 2, 1998, Swissair Flight 111 crashed into St. Margaret's Bay, 5 miles off the coast, roughly equidistant from the small fishing and tourist communities of Peggy's Cove and Bayswater. The MD-11 was en route from JFK to Geneva, Switzerland when it plunged into the ocean, killing all 229 passengers and crew on board, for the second deadliest aviation accident to occur in Canada. There were memorial sites at both Peggy's Cove and here at Bayswater, where the unidentified crash victims are both memorialized and interred. When we come right back, following a quick ad break, we'll bring you to the famous Peggy's Cove, and we'll also bring you kayaking at Graves Island before we head into the capital city of Halifax. So stay tuned. This is the other memorial to the victims of Swissair Flight 111 at Whalesback in Peggy's Cove. Peggy's Cove is one of the most photographed places in all of Nova Scotia, and it's easy to see why. It's a unique landscape where the land meets the sea, where each impacts the other. There's much folklore about the name, although it's likely named after St. Margaret's Bay, which Samuel de Champlain named after his mother Marguerite, as Peggy is a nickname for Margaret. Another story suggests the village may have been named after the wife of an early settler. The popular legend claims that the name came from the sole survivor of a shipwreck at Halibut Rock near the cove. In the early 1900s, the population peaked at about 300. The community supported a schoolhouse, church, general store, lobster cannery, and boats of all sizes that were nestled in the cove. From its inception, the community's economy revolved around fishery. However, tourism began to overtake fishing in economic importance following the Second World War. Today, Peggy's Cove is a major tourist attraction, drawing 600,000 visitors annually, although its inhabitants still fish for lobster, and the community maintains a rustic, undeveloped appearance, even though the sheer number of tourists belie that fact. As beautiful as Peggy's Cove is, and despite the fact that a visit to Peggy's Cove is nearly required when in the area, we found the number of tourists who overrun Peggy's Cove overwhelming, even on a weekday. So I was in search of a more tranquil experience. And in a special place like the South Shore, we can't resist the urge to get our boat out onto the water. To make it even better, my employer is experiencing a major system outage today that's left us all hamstrung and unable to work on a Friday. So why not do a little paddling on this unplanned holiday? We're going to put our kayak in the water at Graves Island State Park, right where we're camping. Scotch Cove, just east of Graves Island, is filled with moored vessels, including both fishing boats and pleasure craft, for some fascinating paddling. Having satisfied myself in Scotch Cove, and with my company's system still expected to remain out of order for a couple more hours, I've decided to embark upon a full circumnavigation of Graves Island before returning to camp. Although it's difficult to capture on video from mere inches above the surface, the colors in the water here are both varied and beautiful. The water is crystal clear, and where the bottom is sandy, the water's appearance takes on a Caribbean-style teal color. In other areas, dark granite rocks are covered with bright yellow seaweed. It's positively gorgeous. That was a thoroughly satisfying paddle. When we come right back, following another quick ad break to pay the bills, we'll bring you to the Nova Scotia capital of Halifax, where we find a special surprise waiting for us. So stay tuned. Founded in 1749, the Nova Scotia capital of Halifax is also the province's most populous municipality and the most populous city in all of Atlantic Canada. It's located only a 45-minute drive from our campsite. We've found the city's vibe to be vibrant, engaging, safe, and positively immaculate. Traffic here has been totally manageable. Citadel Hill, in the center of the city, is a National Historic Site. 4 different fortifications have been constructed on Citadel Hill since the city was founded by the English in 1749, each time successively rebuilt to defend the town from various enemies. While never attacked, the Citadel was long the keystone to defense of the strategically important Halifax Harbor and its Royal Navy dockyard. Today, Parks Canada operates the site as the Halifax Citadel National Historic Site of Canada. It has restored the fort to its appearance when built in the Victorian era. Construction for the present star-shaped fortress began in 1828, but was not completed until 1856. In case of overwhelming attack, portions of the hill had T-shaped tunnels extending about 100 feet from the outer walls, which could be packed with explosives and detonated from the fort. The Halifax Waterfront Boardwalk is a public footpath located on Halifax Harbor, encompassing a number of historic waterfront locales now dedicated to shops and restaurants. At the southern end of the boardwalk, I spotted 3 ships' masts that begged me to explore further. Imagine my surprise and delight when I rounded a corner and instantly recognized the United States Coast Guard Barque Eagle, even though I hadn't seen the ship in person in 35 years. The Eagle is normally berthed at the U.S. Coast Guard Academy in New London, Connecticut, near where I grew up, and saw it often during my childhood. The ship sails around the world on goodwill cruises each summer to train cadets, earning it the nickname America's Tall Ship, as it hosts free tours for the public during ports of call. I had hoped that the Eagle would be back in port in New London by late August to film while we're in that area, before it heads back out on its semi-annual 2-week cruise for Coast Guard Officer Candidate School classes. I sure hadn't expected to have that opportunity here in Halifax. The 295-foot steel-hulled Eagle is one of only 2 active commissioned sailing vessels in the U.S. military today, the other being the USS Constitution, aka Old Ironsides, which is ported at Boston Harbor. The Eagle began life as the German sail training ship Horst vessel, built in 1936. It served to train Nazi sailors in sail techniques until decommissioned at the start of World War II. The vessel was then given anti-aircraft armament and recommissioned in 1942. At the end of the war, Horst vessel was taken by the U.S. as war reparations. On May 15, 1946, she was commissioned into the United States Coast Guard as the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Eagle. Eagle has over 6 miles of running rigging and approximately 22,280 square feet of sail area. We still don't know if Eagle will be back in New London by the time we arrive there at the end of August, so I'm sure pleased that we found this opportunity here in Halifax. It's a beautiful night in Chester for our final night on the South Shore, so we'll spend it dining at the fabulously scenic location of the Rope Loft's outdoor deck. We've really enjoyed Nova Scotia's South Shore, and we hope that you've enjoyed coming along to explore this area with us. We have one more stop in Canada coming up next week at the Bay of Fundy. And after that, we'll be returning to the United States. So if you're not yet a grand adventurer yourself, now is the time for you to go smash that little subscribe button right down there in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. And ring that notification bell to be sure that you never miss an episode of Grand Adventure, which we premiere right here every Wednesday evening. We'd also be honored if you shared the channel with your friends, family, and on social media. Understand, it's extremely important to us that if you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to give us a big thumbs up down below. And while you're down below, that's where you'll find the comment section, where we'd love to hear from you each and every week. So until next week, from the Bay of Fundy, please remember, life is nothing but a grand adventure. We'll see you then.